The spring buying season is heating up already, and the calendar only says it's February. So what do you need to know about buying a house in San Diego in 2024? Let's talk about what the first steps are to buy a home in San Diego. If you are new here, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Chris Spade at Keller Williams Realty, and I make all these videos to help you make sense of the real estate market. Do me a huge favor, click the subscribe button. Also click that little bell so you can be notified every single time we drop fresh new content. And if you found value in this video, please do me a favor and click the like button. Also, if you think somebody needs to hear this, please share this video. So let's get to the 5 steps on what you need to do to buy a home in San Diego. Now, the first thing you want to do is understand the San Diego real estate market. Now that you are looking to buy a home, you are in the market. You are doing the research. You are talking to people. You are going to open houses. You're seeing trends start to take place. Now, as you go to open houses, for example, you're going to be having conversations with real estate agents like myself. They're going to be updating you on what's going on with the property. You're going to be able to see by the number of people that are in the property how popular the home is, how popular the area is you're looking in, and how popular the market is. I want to give you an example of one property, this one over here on Chinook Court over in Claremont. Now, this was being represented by an agent in our office, and a colleague of mine and I held this house open. Now, over 2 days, we probably got about 150 groups of people through. That was groups. So that was a minimum of 2 people that came through in a group to visit this open house. Now, that agent in particular ended up with at least 25 offers on the property. The home was listed at $849,000. The clients I was working with wrote an offer over that, and we didn't even get it. Now, I can tell you that they got a regular conventional offer at over $1 million, and they got a cash offer in the high 900s. So the market is moving, and each market is micro, just like the weather. You've heard microclimate on the Weather Channel. San Diego real estate markets are kind of the same way. Now, the area you're looking in is also going to depend on what is happening. So, for example, Claremont is going to have a different price point and a different impact on the market than other neighborhoods. Let's say El Cajon could probably be significantly different than Claremont, or Carlsbad is going to be different from Solana Beach. They're very different areas, and people know what's going on in those neighborhoods, and buyers are doing a lot of homework online before they start shopping. And you're going to want to do the same thing. You're going to want to do a lot of research because you're going to want to pay attention to those trends. Now, you're going to have some outside influences like friends and family and neighbors giving you advice. But the one thing you have to remember is, as you are buying a home in 2024, you are living in the market. So you are doing the research, you know what's happening. Not everybody is visiting all these open houses with you, and they don't necessarily know what's going on in the market. So just make sure you take their advice, but then take your research and what you're seeing happen on the street and know that it's probably going to be a little bit different. Now, the time of year can certainly affect the market and the prices. So it is February right now. We are going to be heading into that spring market very, very shortly. In fact, we are about 6 weeks away from the official start to spring, which means homes are going to start coming on the market. That means more buyers are going to be out hitting the streets. People want to buy homes in the springtime because they want to be closed by the end of the summer, so that way their kids can be in their new school for the start of fall. So if you are thinking about buying a home, make sure you start taking those steps to get yourself ready to make the purchase. The second thing you're going to want to do is make sure you are financially healthy to buy a home. Get your finances in order. Now, the first step with that is creating a budget. What can you afford? Obviously, you know what you can afford for rent, so take that rent payment, put that into your new house payment, and then you're going to have to see where you can budget to make up the shortfall, because typically your rent is probably going to be a little bit less. Or if you have to move out of your house because your landlord is going to sell the property, or they want to move back into the property and you're starting to look at other homes, you're going to have to start budgeting, because rents though they are coming down, are still quite high in San Diego. Now, you're not only going to have to come up with your down payment, which can be anywhere from 3 to 20 or 25%, but you're also going to want to budget for property taxes, insurance, you're going to want to budget for maintenance, and if you're moving into an association where there's an HOA fee, you're going to have to budget for that as well. The other thing that you're going to want to do is make sure you have a mortgage pre-approval. Now, there is going to be something that you're going to see floating around called a mortgage pre-qualification. Now, let's talk about the difference very quickly. Now, mortgage pre-qualification basically means you've just kind of put numbers into a system or have talked to a lender about this is how much I make, this is how much my debts are, blah, 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 blah. It is very, very basic. A mortgage pre-approval simply means that you have done the work to make sure you can afford a very specific price point. So that means you've given your taxes, you've given your W-2s, you've given your paycheck stubs, you've given all your financial information to a lender. That lender in turn is going to send it to an underwriter. The underwriter is going to go through everything and they are going to make a decision as to how much you can actually afford to buy a home. Now, that's important because this way you're going to be able to take that information and you're going to be able to go out into the streets and start looking for a home with an agent, and hopefully that agent is me. Now, let's say you have less than perfect credit. You're going to want to work with a qualified lender that's going to give you advice on how to boost that credit score. And in some cases, they can just do adjustments to your credit and do a rapid rescore to get that credit back up, because the better your credit, the better the interest rate that you're going to get. So we want to keep that in mind. Now, if you think you have bad credit, you probably don't. Let me tell you, you can get mortgages in the 500s, so don't let that discourage you. Talk to a lender because you'd be surprised what you can qualify for. So once we sit down, and we can either do this in person or over Zoom, you're going to want to choose your needs versus your wants. You're going to want to go over what are the must-haves in your property and what are the things that you would like to have in your property. So I always give people this very loose example so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. You need a roof, you want a pool, right? So every house we're going to sell has a roof, right? But what you want to make sure is you go over your needs versus your wants. So let's say one of the needs that you need in your home is the location, because you want to have a specific commute time to work. One of the questions I'm going to ask you is, how far do you want to commute to your work? So everybody is different. Some people will say, I'll go up to 50 miles. Some people are saying, I don't want to have to get on the freeway at all. So it's just different for everybody. So we're going to go over those needs versus wants. You're just going to want to identify what those are. And those are the things that we're going to look for in the properties that you are looking to buy. Now, we may not be able to get all your wants, but we're going to come very close to finding everything that you desire in a home. We're also going to guide you through the home inspection process. I have a list of inspectors that are great that do this. I always recommend that if you're doing a condominium, you do at least a physical home inspection, because some of the maintenance of the property is covered by the HOA, like the termite, for example. But if you're buying a single family detached home, then you're going to want to get a physical home inspection. You're going to want to get a termite inspection. Definitely you're going to want to get a sewer scope inspection, because most of the sewer lines in San Diego are cast iron. And if you have a bad piece of cast iron underneath your property, it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars to repair that. Now, if you have a raised foundation, we should always get a foundation inspection. And then the inspector will walk around the property and look to see, if you're buying a house on a slab foundation, if it's a good idea to get a slab foundation inspection, or if we see that there's a ripple in the floor somewhere, we may want to do that. You're going to want to look at homes that have really good resale value, so that way when you go to sell it in the future, and it might only be 5 years from now, that you have a really good shot at selling your home very quickly and getting a lot of money for it. Now let's talk about the offer and negotiation process. Now in this market, we only have 2,200 homes on the market as of this morning. So that means you want to write a very good offer on the property, and you want to put your best foot forward on the first shot. The one thing that we're trying to do is not get any sort of counteroffers. We do not want to get a counteroffer back from the listing agent. We want them to say, this is the best offer to their client, take this offer, and this agent's easy to work with because he's been keeping me apprised of everything that's going on. Working with the right agent is crucial because you're going to want to have a good communication between agents, and you're going to want to write a strong offer. Let's talk negotiation strategies for a little bit. Now, some of the things that we can do to make our offer a little bit stronger would be shortening the time frame of our contingency. So what is a contingency? A contingency is a set of time that you get to do inspections on the property, to read the title report, to read the disclosures, to read the HOA documents. It's timed. It's a timed calendar day thing. So that is typically 17 days in the California purchase agreement. Now, we can get a lot of that stuff done a lot faster than 17 days. So I always recommend shortening those time frames because it makes your offer look better to the seller. Now, this is good because we're going to tell the seller that we're going to get through this process as quickly as possible, because this tells the seller that we're going to take as little time as we need to do a thorough job on our inspections. And that way, if we decide we don't want the property, we're going to give them the opportunity to put it back on the market and sell it. Now, keep in mind, those inspections may reveal things that the seller didn't know about the home, and we can use that as a negotiation. Sometimes we can get credits towards the closing costs. Those are usually called recurring and non-recurring closing costs. Or what we can do is we can readjust the price down a little bit. It's kind of almost an equal thing. I mean, if you get the closing cost credit, then that means you bring a little bit less to the table with your closing costs. And if you get the price reduction, it just means you're going to pay a little bit less in taxes. It just depends on what you do. I always recommend the closing cost credit because then you've got your cash in your pocket that you get to keep there. So I always recommend that if we're going to negotiate anything, let's negotiate a repair request in terms of a closing cost credit. And also, here's another wise tip of advice: make sure that you get the credit and you don't let them do the repair unless it's something that's going to be done by a professional, like the termite company, for example. The reason you want this is because their level of what they get and what your expectation is are always going to be different. So just don't muddy the waters that way. You do the work yourself and just get the credit. Let's talk about the closing process for just a second. So we've gotten through the inspections, we've read all our disclosures, now we're at the closing process and we're ready to take ownership of the property. Now, just a couple days before you go and are closing on the property, you're gonna have to sign your loan documents. And I always tell people to exercise your wrist a little bit because you're gonna be signing a lot of documents with the notary. The notary is gonna come, they're gonna meet you, they're gonna sign the loan documents with you, they're gonna take those loan documents, they're gonna give you a copy of the loan documents that you have with a copy of the deed that you just signed. Then what they're going to do is they're going to give you the wiring instructions that you're going to take to your bank and wire the money, the balance of what you owe, to the escrow company. On the closing day, which is typically the next day, the documents will come back to the escrow company. They'll review them to make sure everything is correct. Once your wire comes in, then the escrow company will call the lender to fund the property. Once the property is funded and all the money is collected, then they will release the deed to record at the county recorder's office, downtown San Diego. Once we get the call that we are confirmed, then the house is yours. A very important thing that I forgot to mention prior to signing all the loan documents is we are going to do a final walkthrough on the property. This is going to help us make sure that the house is in the same condition it was as when we wrote the original offer. So tell me what you think. Are you looking to buy a house in 2024? Comment below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And if you have any questions, all my contact info is below with my phone number, email, and a link to my calendar. And if you want to book an in-person Zoom or a call, feel free to do that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.